Hello and welcome to Duality Unfolding. I am Kathy. This week I have a Mercury retrograde reading for you. So about 3 or 4 times a year, Mercury goes retrograde, and it is a time where we are invited to reflect, to release, to renew, to relax, to rewind, kind of all the words that start with like RE. Release, we're invited to do that. So each time that Mercury goes retrograde, it retrogrades in a different sign, and that sign affects how, it affects Mercury. Mercury rules communication, short distance travel, technology. So depending on which sign Mercury is in, when it is retrograde, it will affect your personal natal chart differently. So this is very much a general reading, like all the readings. It's going to be a pick a card reading. So I will show you each of the options and you can choose which one resonates for you, whether it's the message or the image. As always, you are welcome to watch more than one reading. And the purpose is just to kind of help you. So there's a couple things I will cover in this reading. It's going to be what new adventure is loading. So when Mercury is retrograde, we kind of slow down. It's not really a time to like launch things. It's more of a like reflective time. But I think if you have ever gone through any kind of like healing, or even if you work out, like there's recovery that needs to be built in, right? And so whether you've been injured or not, like recovery is a big part of how our bodies and our minds prepare for new things that are coming. So I feel like a really easy analogy is weight training, or even like running, that you have those recovery days where you're not as active. Maybe you're not lifting as much, you're not running as hard or as long, so that your body can recover, so that those muscle fibers have a chance to kind of build up to be bigger and stronger than they were before. So this question about like what new adventure is loading is kind of in the vein of that like while we're in Mercury retrograde, there are things that are shifting and changing and lining up just like we are shifting and changing. And this Mercury retrograde is in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is very much like the optimistic adventurer. So the symbol for Sagittarius is the archer, but I feel like the energy of Sagittarius is really in the arrow, in the kind of pulling back and like the actual launching, right? So that's really where this question came from, of like what new adventure is loading, like what are we being prepared for, what's getting kind of lined up while we're resting, and kind of being pulled back like that arrow during this Mercury retrograde. The next question is going to be, what are we being asked to release? So like I said, Mercury retrogrades are a time where we can focus on those RE words: release, renew, relax, refresh. And then the final question is going to be, how can we best rest right now? So this Mercury retrograde is happening at the end of the calendar year. We're coming into the winter season. The days have gotten very, very short. We haven't gotten to the solstice yet, but we're getting to that shortest day of the year. And when there's a lot of dark out, it makes us tired, right? And so, that darkness signals to us that it's a time to rest. So just getting some messages from Spirit on how we can best rest right now. So there's going to be a lot of cards. It's going to be tarot and oracle. So I will get into the options. So group number 1, your card is gratitude. And this message is, I am thankful for this life and the opportunities that it presents. It's really beautiful, green and purple. Group number 2, your card is doubt. I release the need to know all the answers. It's a really nice deep green. I feel like there's a lot of chakra energy coming through here for probably all of these. And then group number 3, your card is happiness. I am aware that being happy means that I am on the right path. So I love that we got green for each of these cards, but it's different shades of green with different kind of greens in it. So if you're familiar with chakra energy, then you know that green is associated with the heart chakra. We've got blue and purple here. Blue is associated with the throat chakra. This kind of dark indigo can be associated with the third eye, which is sort of what this looks like. Purple has to do with the crown chakra. So, the throat chakra, third eye, and then the crown, the upper chakras. The second card has a much darker green with some yellow and brown in it. Yellow is the solar plexus chakra, and then these darker colors can have to do with the root chakra. So a lot of times people associate red with the root chakra, but black, like a dark brown, like when we think of kind of like deep earth colors, like rooting, grounding, like if you've ever seen a tree, like that's kind of older, like the root and the roots in the wood is like very dark brown, almost black. And then we've got some kind of blues, blues, light blues and dark blues in here. So again, throat chakra, third eye chakra. This also kind of makes me think for some reason of another chakra that like we don't really talk about a lot, which is like the thymus chakra, which is between the heart and the throat. So like if you kind of think of that space like right below your collarbone, there's this space where like the heart and the voice meet together, where we're kind of learning how to speak from our heart. I feel like the throat chakra, when it's connected more to the third eye, has to do with speaking the truth and speaking our truth. But, when it comes to like the things that we need, we have to learn how to speak from the heart. So again, like there's very common heart energy here, building the confidence to be able to speak the things that we're feeling and knowing. So, again, these are your 3 options. And so take all the time that you need, and I will see you in the readings. Hello, group number 1. So if you chose this gratitude card, this is your reading. So I have pulled tarot cards from you from this Instaro deck. It's a Kickstarter deck, and it has a number on it. Like there are only so many that were made. And so I'm just really excited to be reading with this. I read for myself before this, and the cards are just really direct, but I just love the imagery. I'm a social media manager, like in my regular life. I do social media management for a nonprofit. So just the fact that there's a social media deck, I think it's really kind of funny and charming and like a really interesting reflection of society, which I love. And then also, this deck was made in Thailand. So it was designed, and made by someone in Thailand. And I, on my mother's side, I am Thai. So I just thought there are so many things about this that I was like, I just love it. So I'm excited to read for you guys with this deck. So I have a big old stack of cards, almost too many cards to hold. So I will do my best to fit as many as I can in here, but there is not enough space for all of these cards, but we have enough time to go through all of them. So so the first thing that we're going to look at cards for is what new adventure is loading for you. So if you watch the intro, then I had talked about like Mercury retrograde is this time when we're kind of being slowed down a little bit, right? We're being invited to take a rest. We're being invited to kind of review some things, reflect on things, relax, and because this Mercury retrograde is in Sagittarius, the energy of Sagittarius, I feel like is really, it's Sagittarius is represented by the archer, but I feel like the energy of Sagittarius is in the arrow, right? And so, when we look at kind of the analogy of the arrow, like it has to be pulled back. And depending on how far back it's pulled, once it's released, that determines like which way it goes and how far and like how skilled is the archer, because like I've never done archery, but like it looks difficult, it looks really difficult to be able to actually like aim, your arrow in the right way and to be strong enough to pull, back on I don't remember what the bow is called. So just kind of the energy of like that pulling back, like we're in this time when we're kind of almost reaching back, right? Like we're reaching back, preparing to get ready to launch something once Mercury goes direct. And that will be on January 2nd in 2024. But because Mercury has kind of a shadow period about like the first 2 weeks before Mercury actually goes retrograde, and then like about 2 weeks after, I would say maybe like 8 or 10 days. So in this time that we're in Mercury retrograde, we are kind of pulling back, our energy by rewinding, reflecting, relaxing, so that when the energy goes direct, we're ready to kind of launch in the direction that we choose that we want to go in. So with all that being said, what new adventure is loading? So this first card is, I let an inner sense of quiet multiply each day as I strengthen my faith in the love of the universe. And I love all the hands reaching in. This next card that we have is, it's number 4. It's number 4, and it's knowing. It's a little bit tricky to see. Okay, and then your 2 tarot cards are this Queen of Wands and this 7 of Swords. So each card has this really cute little caption, and then there's there's just like really fun elements of it, right? Like this camera, she has like a sparkler. Instead of swords, we've got bread, and so the energy that I'm feeling with this new adventure that you're loading is, like, the Queen of Wands is someone that takes action, right? Like, she has a plan, she gets things done, she knows how to use her resources. And 7 of Swords, I feel like the traditional energy of 7 of Swords is a little bit of drama. It's a little bit of behind the back energy. But I feel like with this, especially with the caption where it talks about like not sharing the bread that they have, like that, the person that's this little 7 of Swords guy making this post is like, no, I'm not sharing any of this bread. Like, I love it. And so I feel like the energy that you're kind of loading for when we go direct, in January is that it's almost like you're harnessing the love that the universe has for you, so you can develop this knowing of like who you are and really like what you deserve and what your value is. Because, and I say that because with this person, like, kind of sorry, not sorry that I'm not sharing all of this bread. It feels like you have a tendency to give things away that the universe is gifting to you that are not yours to give away. Like, the universe gives you gifts because they are for you, and that the universe gives gifts to other people. And if those other people have a problem receiving them, or they're not in the right space, they can't hear the universe, they're not open to receiving, it's not your job to work as like almost like a secondhand, like Secret Santa, trying to like re-gift your blessings to other people. Because I think the tricky thing with that is that it's beautiful that you have a really loving, giving heart, but when we give away the things that are ours, people are not grateful for those things, right? So it's almost like when we look at, I feel like this might be a terrible example, but I feel like it's apt. Like, it's something we see a lot. Like, when you see the kids of really rich CEOs that like they get everything that they want, and like there's not gratitude for it, that like getting a brand new car at 16 is not a big deal, because like it's just come to them. And there's other people, those of us that like we don't get, like we're not in a financial position to buy a brand new car until we're like in our 30s or maybe later, depending on like our circumstances. And so I say all that to say that like when we give away what is ours to people who haven't earned or deserve it, like they don't receive it in the same way. It doesn't mean the same thing to them. So what you're loading in this time is this understanding that like, this is a time for you to really reflect, and see how much the universe has given you, and like how much more the universe wants to give you. And I feel like this imagery is really perfect. Like, I feel like you're this little baby cat, and then like this like Egyptian goddess cat person thing is the universe, right? Like, you're, it's this kind of like higher, more evolved like version of you that's always kind of like, like holding you and like really looking out for things, right? And that there's this light that's coming, and like just kind of knowing that like you're so held and you're so loved, and that like yes, you're already grateful, like you already have gratitude for the things that have come in for you, but it really feels like you have no idea how many loaves of bread the universe is like wanting to gift you, that it's like trying to gift you, and that like you don't have to give away what's been gifted to you. That like, if you want to share it, you absolutely can. That's like that's a really beautiful thing, to be able to share the blessings that you have with other people. But to be given 7 loaves of bread and then to give all 7 away, unless that's what the universe has put on your heart, which I feel like it's not. I feel like it might be that you have a hard time receiving things. And so like when things are given to you, it's like, I don't deserve this. I have to give it away. I have to get rid of it. I have to give it to people that deserve it more than I do, or give it to people that need it more than I do. And like that you don't have to do that anymore. I would also invite you to kind of question the motives for why you want to give these things away. That that kind of questioning, like, why do I feel the need to do that? Like, what do I get from that? And then like, if I'm receiving some kind of feelings from it, like, is there somewhere else? Like, gosh, how do I give an example of this? Like, if you're giving things away because it feels good, because you don't have connections that give you good feelings in your life, like that is something to maybe dig into, right? That like, if you're donating or giving things away because that's the only source of like what gives you good feelings in your heart, like that's not the only source in your life for where you can have those good feelings. Like, is there a way that you can connect a little deeper with yourself? Is there a way that you can connect a little deeper with other people in your life? Like, is there maybe an absence of like really authentic connective relationships? And like, if that's the case, like asking the universe to bring those things in, right? And really kind of taking this time to figure out like, what is it that I want? Like, if I could ask the universe for 7 different things instead of just bread, like what would you ask for? So that is what New Adventure is loading for you. So let me see. I'm going to see if I can kind of try to keep these sort of here. The next thing I pulled cards on is, what are you being asked to release? So surrender to divine timing. So let me see. So the message is, sometimes divine timing may differ from your ego's timing. If a goal isn't manifesting fast enough, according to your ego, be patient and trust the universal flow. That is tricky. Patience is not always our strongest. Well, maybe I'm just talking about myself. Maybe just I struggle with patience. Maybe you don't. The next message is justice. Okay, so the things that you want are coming, but there has to be a rebalancing that happens, and so kind of looking at the purpose of, the spiritual purpose, the spiritual reasoning behind Mercury retrograde, that, like, this is a time of rebalancing, reflection, renewal, that in order for the thing that you want to come in, there has to be some rebalancing that happens. And I feel like there's some like, it's not you. It's like whatever your manifestation is, whatever thing you're trying to call in, it has to get prepared. So it might be a person, it might be a job, it might be a money situation, but like there's something else that has to like get right before it can arrive to you in the way that it needs to arrive. And I think the hard part might be for you that like feeling like, okay, I've done all the things, I've done all the work, like I'm ready, like you've done everything that like you can do, need to do, except for wait, which, like I said, is the hard part. But as you're kind of in the space of waiting, just knowing that there are things in the background, the foreground, like things that you can't see that have to get rebalanced, that like, it's not your work to do. It's another person, another entity, like another organization, like they have to get these things right. And then once those things have been corrected, then everything will start flowing again. And so, like I said, this is a Mercury retrograde, reading. So this is kind of this is like what's happening in these couple weeks of Mercury retrograde. So the two tarot cards that we have about what you're being asked to release are the Knight of Wands and the Page of Wands. You also got the Queen of Wands here. So there's a lot of Wands energy, which is associated with the fire signs. Let me pull these up so you can read them. See these cute little captions. Like, I just like the hashtags, they crack me up. But so the Knight of Wands, knights are very fast moving. And so the thing you're being asked to release is that impatience, right? So like you're, and it's like, it's not funny, but I feel like if you've ever like, talked to anybody that like, let me start that over. If you've ever been to church, if you've ever been involved in religion and like you prayed for patience, like there's a joke that you shouldn't pray for patience because like the way to pray for patience is that you're really just asking for a lesson where you're just going to be forced into experiences where you have to be patient, right? Like, it's not that you can pray for like a box of patience to come in that you just like absorb and it's like, oh, I have patience now. Nope. Like, it's a very hard earned lesson. And so that's why I'm laughing. Because I like I've been there. So I'm on the other side of it. You'll get there too. It's gonna be fine. It might be a little bit annoying, but you'll be okay. It's a very like minor inconvenience to have to learn how to become patient, because we learn how to be patient by being patient, right? And so I guess that's kind of the funny part of it. Like that's like the punchline, if this were a joke that was really funny, but it's kind of not, right? That learning how to be patient requires us to be patient. And I love that this card talks about being on a carousel, right? Because the Knight of Wands wants to move, he wants to go, like he's in a hurry, but it's like when we're on a carousel, like what does it do? It just takes us around in circles and it doesn't go very fast, right? We can't control the speed. Depending, I mean, yes, we can get off of the carousel, but it's like the purpose of it isn't to go anywhere. The purpose of it is just to be on the carousel, to kind of be going up and down and around in circles and hearing the music and just having the experience. So I feel like, the thing you're being asked to release is that impatience and also the resistance to being in the now, that when we're in a situation that is not ideal, that's not what we want, that's maybe uncertain, or like there's some element of uncertainty to it. Like, I don't know when I'm gonna get out of this situation. And like, how did I get here? Like when we're in all of that, it's very uncomfortable to be present in our circumstances, right? But I feel like that's what you're being asked to do. It's like you can either be on the carousel and be mad you're on the carousel. And in my mind, like what it looks like is like a kid that's like on like a cotton candy pink horse that's just like kind of got their arms crossed and their shoulders hunched up and they're just kind of pouting and they're like, this is dumb. like I don't like it. And like, I'm too small to get off this stupid horse by myself. But I don't want to be here and I want everybody to know that I don't like it, which you can totally do. Like, you know what I mean? This is your life experience. So if you want to pout, like you are entitled to pout. I don't know how the people around you react. It might make you feel better. Like maybe you just are in the privacy of your own home and you're like, I'm going to be a pouty toddler today and I'm just going to be mad and I'm going to eat my snacks and I'm going to be grumpy and I'm going to tell people I don't want to talk to anybody and I'm going to color outside the lines because I'm mad. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going to throw my Legos and maybe going to cry a little bit, have a tantrum, like do what you got to do. So we always have a choice to either either be present and uncomfortable with what is, or to, to resist what is and kind of work through that resistance, right? Because I think that there's a lot of weird toddler stuff that's coming up for some reason. So it makes me think of, okay, I don't have children. I do have a little brother. So it's like the limit of my toddler experience. And I remember that and I've seen this with like other people that have kids too, that like sometimes kids will not poop. Just such a weird analogy, right? Like, sorry, follow me here. And that like they will literally like just they'll hold it in and they won't go. And so like I feel like that's kind of how resistance works, right? That like we can be really resistant. And I'm a highly resistant person, so I am not judging you. Like I totally get emotionally, I don't want to say constipated. Like I will I will hold my emotions in and not release them the way a toddler does not want to poop sometimes. And so like me too. No, I'm not judging. Speaking from experience. And so we will hold in that resistance, like we will resist and hold on to being mad or upset or sad or like just kind of almost denying reality. Like I am resisting the reality of the situation and I'm just going to be in these feelings because I'm mad that this is how it is and I'm not ready to accept it, right? And that sometimes for some of us, resistance is part of the process, like going through this resistance until we're exhausted from resisting and we get to the point that we finally get to acceptance. I don't feel like this is everybody's experience. I think that there are people that maybe don't resist as much as like they deny, or people that like, we all react to things in a different way, but like that discomfort, it's hard to be in. But the thing you're being encouraged to do is to release that impatience, surrender to divine timing, and figure out how you can be okay with being present, however that looks for you. And I think sometimes we do that through distraction. And there's healthy and unhealthy distraction. I think everybody's version of healthy or unhealthy is different. Some people, unhealthy distraction for them is like doom scrolling and just spending hours, like playing games on their phone or on social media. For some people, that's a really healthy way for them to distract, that they find, I don't know, like cat videos or like, some kind of like something that like really interests them and that like they find enjoyable. So kind of, use it as needed. We all find like different ways to distract ourselves. Some people distract with an activity. Some people distract with like reading or learning or painting or things like that. So, I think being present with what is uncomfortable isn't, you don't get a gold medal for like suffering through the discomfort. Like you can take breaks. Like you don't have to like being present and being present with what is uncomfortable, like you don't have to be stuck in that, but just understanding that like the thing you're being asked to release is gonna cause a little bit of discomfort, and that's how growth works, right? It's like the growing pains. This other card, this Page of Wands, but like pages are messengers, like they have an announcement for us. And so like part of what this feels like is you don't have to share everything with everybody. And that like you shouldn't. Like you shouldn't. The people I think there's a lot to be said for being intentional about what we share and who we share with and why we share. That sometimes sometimes we're in a place where we're like, I don't know how to be patient, and like, I don't know how to be with this really difficult circumstance that I'm in, and I just need to vent to somebody. And maybe we go to a friend and we don't say that, right? We're just like, I had a bad day, can you talk? And, they're like, sure. And you're sharing these things, you're like, oh, this is so hard. And they're like, yeah, that's horrible. And then you feel more horrible, right? Because like, that wasn't what you needed, but you didn't verbalize what you needed because we aren't taught how to do that. Like, that's not intuitive. We're actually kind of taught that like other people should either predict the things that we need or we just shouldn't have needs. It's like this really weird spectrum of like of huge extremes that like are not helpful or useful to us as adults navigating like human relationships, or even navigating relationships with like little people, teaching little people how to, express their needs. And so I say this, for two reasons: that like we are responsible for the messages that we send, right? So if you need something from people, it works best in a balanced relationship for you to share like, hey, I'm kind of in a low place and I just need a little bit of support. Do you have the time to do that? Do you have the ability to do that? And some people, we already know, like, they don't know how to be supportive. They know how to fix, but we don't have anything broken. So maybe those aren't the right people. Or we have people that we know are supportive and maybe they had a hard day and they're like, I just can't today. I can tomorrow. Or like, can you give me 2 hours, or something like that. So there's a lot of growth that comes from figuring out what it is that I need, and then how and who do I ask that from. The other part of it is that when we share with the wrong people, sometimes they use those things to hurt us. And I feel like that's a hard thing to share, or a hard thing to say, because it's like we want to believe the best in people. We want to believe that the people that are in our lives are, good people that want us to be happy, that want great things for us. And I truly believe that everybody's doing their best. But I think in this human experience, sometimes there are things that we do or that we want that trigger other people. And sometimes people are aware of their triggers, and a lot of times people are not aware of their triggers, right? And so if we are sharing things with people who aren't aware of their triggers and they're responding out of that, like sometimes our success triggers other people in a negative way, right? Like it's like the crabs in a bucket metaphor, right? That like all the crabs are trying to get out of the bucket and they don't care whose faces they step on. Like some people grow up with that mentality that like if you want to get out and get ahead, you have to step on faces. And like people don't always show us that. And, if you happen to share with the wrong people, it's not going to be detrimental, but I feel like it is going to be kind of hurtful, and it might show you that these are not the people that you thought they were. And sometimes that's a lesson that we need to learn, because it might be that you have to release those people. That might be one of the things you're being asked to release, to kind of rebalance those relationships, to reevaluate like, okay, if I can't share my success and my good news with you, like, are you someone that I want to really keep in my inner circle? Or, the reevaluation might be like, okay, if I share certain things with you, I know that you're going to give me the worst case situation. And sometimes I need that. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes I don't need that. Right. And so just kind of learning what to share with who, and also learning that like, you don't have to share everything with everybody. So those were the things that you're being asked to release: that impatience and that need to overshare. Let me see. Can I put these here? Yeah. Okay. And so then the last couple cards that I have for you are around how can you best rest right now? So the first card I have from you is this card, My Body is My Teacher. And so it has a long message on the back. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but I will hold it here so you can screenshot it or read it for yourself. Okay, and again, my body is my teacher. So this next card is request. And I love that it's a little egg timer. So I feel like this might be, some of you might be burnt out and need to request some time off. Like I feel like this is literal, like requesting time to rest because your body is your teacher and your body needs some rest. I'm going to flip this over just so you can kind of see it. And then I can see it too. Because this permission message, like I feel like this is permission, I think is something that is very interesting to me in that, like, I think maybe in like 2018, it started to become really apparent to me that like a big part of like women's relationships has to do with giving each other permission. And I think we can see that in like the overall culture now, right? Where like with social media, there's a lot of content creators that are anti-fat shaming, that are like anti anti-aging. Like you have a lot of content creators that are like, hey, I'm not a size 0, but like if you're a normal size person like me, this is how you can make clothes look cute, or like these are some fashion tips for if you have, if you're short and you got big hips, which is me, like this is how you can like dress, or if you are someone that is like in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and that like all you see in the beauty industry is women that are in their 20s that have like no wrinkles and no sunspots. And like, that's not all beauty is. Like you can be beautiful at any age, and like even content about like skincare as you get older, and I think there's things too, like for men, right? That, like men need permission for things just as much as women do around kind of social stuff, that like my generation, I'm Gen X millennial, I'm kind of in this weird in between, but like our parents, the men grew up in what I call the John Wayne generation, where it's like you get shot, but you can't die, right? So like you are the hero and you're not allowed to die. So if you are injured, you just got to power through and you have to will yourself not to die, which doesn't make any sense. But that's kind of how they were raised, right? And so now kind of being in this time where like people are talking about mental health and mental wellness, people are talking about burnout, like the corporate culture has changed a lot, like the system of work that we're in, like with Gen Z coming into the workforce, like, and then the way that like millennials have changed the workforce, and then remote work where there's all these things where people are like, I'm not gonna kill myself physically for you to make a profit off of me. And like, okay, how much time off do I have? Oh, okay, I get like 10 vacation days or like however many vacation days a year. Well, I'm gonna take 8 right now. And like, oh, okay, I'm not allowed to take any vacation time. All right, I will quit. And I'll find another job after I rest from my burnout because I can't, and so I say all that because of this, like some of these words are like popping out to me, right? Permission, grind culture, deprogramming, self-worth and deserving rest, right? That like, if you have a body, if you have a body, regardless of what shape it is, regardless of what abilities it has, you deserve rest. And you don't have to, like, your body is not a machine that needs to like run on empty. You're not a car that should be driving 80 miles an hour in second gear. Like you are a person and you need rest. And so, the best way you can rest right now is to request some time off is what this is saying. And so these are the 2 tarot cards that came up. The 8 of Wands and the Ace of Cups. So, this card talks a little bit about travel. The Ace of Cups is not typically a travel card. It's a card about like new love. Eight of Wands is about fast moving action, but with these fireworks, it almost feels to me like if you are able, it might be a really great thing for you to take a little trip or a staycation or like do some kind of celebratory travel for like the end of year or like the start of the new year. Because this is making me think of New Year's Eve, with the fireworks and then this travel message here. And even the Eight of Wands, like going, you have a lot of wands. We had like the Knight of Wands, Page of Wands, Queen of Wands. Now I've got the Eight of Wands. That if you are able to take a quick little trip somewhere to refill your cup, I think that's a great idea. And traveling doesn't have to be like going somewhere lavish or spending a lot of money. Like if you have time off that you can take from work and you take it and maybe you just like drive 2 hours away to like a city and kind of maybe it's a place that you wanted to go, or maybe there's like a restaurant there you really like, or maybe you just like want to check it out because it seems like a neat place and you never have time to go there. Like going to do those things for yourself is going to fill up your cup. Like taking that time to just go somewhere and like get away from whatever it is that you're dealing with, right? Like we've talked about like this kind of like the divine timing, and the need for patience, like, talking about this kind of overgiving, and filling up your own cup, not giving away all your loaves of bread, and really taking this time, I think, to like request that time off, to give your body some rest and like to go do something that is fun for you, something that you'll enjoy, something that will fill your cup. And I feel like this just, everybody has a different idea of fun, but I think that this card just like screams fun to me because of like the little confetti and the stars and like all the colors that are here. There might be, I don't know, like there might be an art museum that you want to go to, like or an art installation, or maybe there's like an art class, or you want to do one of those wine and paint things, or you just want to buy some fireworks. Please be safe. Like just please be safe. Or you want to go somewhere to like watch fireworks or like some kind of fireworks show. But I feel like the best way that you can rest right now is to, take some time off, figure out something fun that you can do to fill your own cup. Because you deserve the rest, you deserve the time. I'm giving you permission to ask for that time off. I'm giving you permission to listen to what your body needs, and for some reason the thing that came up, maybe your body needs another tattoo. Maybe that's what like all these colors are about. I wholeheartedly support that. But if you are not into tattoos, that message is not for you. Unless you want the first one. I don't know. But, that you're being encouraged to rest and recharge by doing something that is fun for you, that you will enjoy, that will fill your cup. And I also like that the imagery here is the same, right? In the traditional imagery like this, the hand represents the universe, right? So, it might be that you work someplace that's like, hey, we're going to take a little holiday break. We're going to have an extended break, or even like the place that I work is kind of going into like this hibernation for the week of Christmas. I've heard other places have like a whole month that they shut down. I've seen things on like social media from she's called the Nap Minister. The Nap Ministry is who created these cards, but like she's taken the rest of the year off, and so she's like, I'm not on social media, I'm not on anything, you won't see me, I will be out living my life, eating all the things. So I feel like this is something that's kind of more, it's becoming more commonplace that people are like, I'm taking this time. So I feel like with these two hands, you're being gifted the time. So please take it. Time, I feel like, is the only resource that we can't get more of and that we can't get back once we lose it, right? Like, it kind of feels like that with money, but it's like, if you purchase something and you don't like it, you can get a refund. You know, even if it's not the full price, you can get some of your money back. Like, time doesn't work that way, right? There's no rewind button on life. So you're being gifted the chance to take time or request time. And so I would highly encourage you to do that. You're being asked to do that as part of your rest. And I hope whatever fun thing you do, that it's super fun. And if you want to share with me, I would love to hear about it because I love fun things. But yeah, so group number 1, this has been your reading. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a like. I would love it if you subscribed. Leave me a comment and just let me know what you thought of these adorable cards. I mean, they're so cute. I love them. I need to read with them more. Also, let me know what fun thing you are planning, or what fun thing you did if you think about it and come back to the reading. So yeah, group number 1, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 2. So if you chose the Doubt card, this is your reading. So I have pulled a ton of oracle cards, but I pulled tarot cards for you from this yoga tarot deck. I really just love the imagery. I love the colors, and I also love that the people are random colors, like this blue guy, you know, and like this green-haired person and this pink girl. And this purple lady with extra arms. So yeah, that's the deck I will be using for you guys. And there are a lot of there's a lot of cards, so I'm going to do my best to show, well, I'm going to show you all of them, but I'm going to do my best to kind of keep them in view here in this space so that you can see what they are. But the first cards that I have pulled are around what new adventure is loading for you. So I feel like loading is kind of an interesting word to use. You know, because when we think of loading, it's like maybe you think of like a computer, like loading software, right? Or like some kind of digital imagery loading, where it's like there's a little bar, you know, that's like loading, hold on. And so I feel like that's kind of the energy of this Mercury retrograde, because Mercury is being ruled by Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the archer. And in order for us to launch that arrow, we have to really pull back and then aim intentionally, right? We can't just like pull it back and let it fly and expect for it to land, you know, on the bullseye, or even land where we want, like if we're not directing it. So I feel like at this time during this Mercury retrograde, like there are things that are kind of that are loading and posturing and getting prepared to launch or even come in for you once Mercury goes direct. So Mercury will go direct on January 2nd, but it's got a shadow period. So the energy of that whole Mercury retrograde kind of won't be out of the way, cleared out all the way till like January 10th. But yeah, so let's look at the oracle cards we have for what new adventure is loading. So we've got this dreaming card with this very interesting moon person's little black cat. And whoops. This message of, to begin the practice of allowing, I must get out of the way and let spirit give me direction. So I feel like, excuse me, you might be getting some messages in your dreams or around the time of the full moon. So I think, I want to say there's a full moon on the 26th, but that might not be right. So if that is not correct, I'm going to put a note down here for when the full moon is, but I know it's going to be a full moon in Cancer. Cancer is a highly psychic sign. So, you know, that's probably going to affect like, you know, your dreams. But I feel like if you're having a hard time hearing from spirit, I would also encourage that you like meditate and even do like some journaling, whether it's like right when you wake up, if you have any dreams that you remember, kind of just writing those things down, because I feel like what's going to come up when you start to write down the things you remember in dreams, it's going to trigger some other part of your brain. It's either going to trigger like memories, it's going to trigger ideas. You might have some downloads for, you know, plans you want to make or things you want to take action on when Mercury actually goes direct. So let's look at your tarot cards. So we have the Queen of Cups and the Knight of Cups. Very interesting. So Queen of Cups energy is very much kind of like this maternal, loving, we've got her sitting in lotus position. We've got these lotuses everywhere and the butterflies. And so what this feels like to me is like you're learning a new way of love. That you've been learning a new way of love, but like I feel like, and especially with the red hair and like the red orange in here, it very much makes it feel like fire energy, the Sagittarius energy. Like it's almost like this time of Mercury retrograde is going to be when you're mentally like it's almost like your brain is able to kind of consolidate and like integrate all these things that have happened. So it almost feels like over the course of this year, there's been a lot of like reprogramming for you around love. There's so much orange here. And so I feel like it's very much related to like the sacral chakra. And so like you might be learning that there is a big difference between like love and physical intimacy. You might be learning about like love and safety. I feel like these are really abstract kind of things, but that they very much like it. As we grow and evolve and learn more about love and relationships, like I feel like these are kind of natural steps, right? I think in our society, like when we're young, we're taught that like when you love someone, then like you have sex with them, you have intimate relations with them. And so I think that causes this confusion of like physical intimacy is love. Physical intimacy is how we know we're in love or how people show us that they're in love with us. And I feel like those two things are not always related, right? And like when we look at kind of like the hookup culture of like the early 2000s, like, a lot of people that were having sex that didn't have any emotional feelings for each other. And then that caused like a lot of emotional fallout. But I think with the way that like sexuality and gender is changing, that, you have people that are asexual, that like don't feel any kind of sexual attraction to the people that they are in love with or that they love very deeply in a romantic way, or even people that are aromantic that don't feel romantic love. And so I think we're, as a society, we're starting to move into this space of learning a new way of love and what love looks like. And also, I feel like that gives each of us permission to decide, like, what does love look like for me? That like for some people, like their bodies are very sacred to them, and that like I feel like I don't know how to say this. Like, I don't want to call you out. So I'm going to call you in and let you know that you have full permission to decide what you do or do not do with your body, with whoever. Like, you have full permission to decide whether or not you want to hug your friends. You have full permission to decide that you want to have a romantic relationship with someone and never have sex with them. You get to decide what sex looks like for you, what sex means, how you define sex, right? Because it's different for everybody, depending on your orientation, depending on your preferences. Like, there's not one way. And so I'm talking about sex so much because of this orange in here, because it's related to the sacral chakra, and that's the big thing that's coming up. There's other things with sacral chakra that can have to do with like, creativity and like womb space and like even like pregnancy. But I feel like for this, there's some kind of healing, like very deep level healing, that you're going through that has to do with like this kind of this entanglement of like love and sex and like what you are supposed to be doing and like what's right or wrong or weird or not weird. And I feel like a lot of this is things that were put on you when you were young, things that you picked up from society, things that I am wholeheartedly inviting you to question about, like, does that make sense for me? Does that feel good to me? Do I want to engage in that? Do I need that? Do I like that? Do, you know, like this time that you're in is preparing you for like the next significant relationship that you have, you know. And for some people that's going to be a romantic relationship, for some people that's going to be a friendship, for some people that's going to be like a work situation. And so what does sex have to do with work? Well, like all these things have to do with how we do or do not value ourselves, right? So it's like if you are in a situation where you're not comfortable saying, I don't want to engage in this kind of intimate activity, even though we're you know, in a committed relationship, then how are you going to say in the workplace, like, I'm not going to work on this project because it goes against my morals, and I don't agree with this project because it's asking people to work outside of their capacities. Like, if you struggle to speak up for yourself in one area, you're going to struggle to speak up for yourself in another area. And so I feel like the big message here is around like autonomy, right? Which is a big word. Like, what does that even mean? Autonomy is essentially the freedom and the right for you to make decisions for yourself based solely on what is right for you. Not in comparison with what is right for other people, not in comparison to what social norms are. Like, autonomy is essentially kind of getting yourself in your own little bubble, getting yourself in your own little lotus position with your little butterflies and your support around you, looking at all the things that you've been through, you know, because I feel like lotuses definitely symbolize struggles that we've been through. Like, the lotus pod has to grow up out of the dirt and it has to stay enclosed to get up out of the dirt, you know, and then like once it gets to the surface, it blooms. You know, no mud, no lotus is the saying. But these are all difficult things that you've been through. And like, to get alone and quiet with yourself to figure out like, okay, what did I learn from this? What do I want to take away from this? How did I grow from this? I never want to do that again. Definitely, we're never doing that. Like, not ever, no more. Thank you. You know, kind of looking at all these things and like deciding, you know, like deciding what is the best thing for us based on what feels the best for us, and then taking action on that. You know, like that I feel like this autonomy is a two-part process, right? That when we're alone and we're kind of sheltered from the world and we can be in our little quiet, safe space and decide that, you know what, I'm not, they are not talking to me like this anymore at work. Absolutely. Nobody's going to talk to me like this. And then you get to work and then somebody talks to you that way, and having to kind of recenter in that autonomy and like having to get that courage, like this stallion that's back here, I feel like is that courage that it feels like fire. It's going to feel really uncomfortable for you the first time you speak up and you voice what your needs are and you operate in your autonomy, because it's going to feel, you're going to feel really hot and you're going to feel really shaky, and it's going to feel like everybody can see it, but they can't. And what's going to happen is that you will get a reaction, and it's not going to be the reaction that you think. It's going to create this pause, and it's going to be like, whoa, who is this? Oh, okay. Well, all right. Sorry, won't happen again. Won't talk to you like that again. Anyway, do you think you can help us do this thing? Great, thanks. And like, for you, it's going to be this like momentous thing. You're probably going to have to take some time by yourself, you know, like, I got to go to the bathroom and like just take some deep breaths. And it is a big thing because operating out of our autonomy is how we operate in our power. And like being in our power shifts everything. And the more you do it, the less uncomfortable it's going to be, until you're always operating in this kind of very much aligned like way, that like, you're going to go from being very, very like having to almost rehearse conversations about what you need to your needs just kind of come, like they just come off the cuff, where it's like maybe something comes up and you're like, no, I can't do that. I don't work on Sundays. Sunday's family day, or like Sunday's football day, or like whatever it is for you. It's like, no, I can't do that. Is there another time? And like this is a huge, I feel like this is a huge up leveling. You might be a fire sign too, because of all this like orange energy in here, or you might have some really significant fire sign placements. But I feel like I feel like this is huge. Like as someone that is on the other side of this, that's like really learned what it means to be an autonomous person and to be comfortable with being in my power and still being able to remember what it's like to not be in there, or to be in that, not to be able to stand in my own power, not to be able to use my voice yet. I feel like this is huge, and I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so happy that like this is what is loading for you. And so if that feels like a lot of pressure, it's like, it's not, that we don't get tested or nudged outside of what our current capabilities are. So, if you're feeling like, oh my gosh, like I don't even know how to figure this out, you don't have to, like just the fact that you're listening to this, that you're hearing a pair of hands on the internet give you permission to decide what you do and don't like anymore. And that can be really small things, right? Like you can be like, I don't like carrots, and next time I get food, I'm gonna ask for no carrots. And that like for some people that's not a big deal, and for other people like that's a big step to be able to ask, because maybe we've been programmed that like it's inconvenient, or just go with the flow, or don't make problems, or don't do this. But it's like, if you're paying for something and it comes with something that you don't want, and it's not an unreasonable request for you to ask for it without that thing, like you're paying for this food or this service, like it's okay. Because really, worst case situation, what are they going to say? Like, no, we're so sorry, we can't get you a carrot cake without carrot. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, okay, well, can I order something else, right? That like a lot of times when we're learning how to ask for what we need, when we're learning how to be autonomous and figure out what it is that we need, we're so worried that we're going to get this reaction from people, and we don't, that like the people that are comfortable asking for their needs, like it doesn't bother them to hear no. And then the people that are not comfortable asking for their needs, those are the ones that give us a little bit of pushback, and and maybe we are an interaction that helps them figure out that it's okay for them to ask for what they need as well. So yes, this is what adventure is loading. You are coming into your autonomy, and you're coming into learning how to take action in asking for what it is that you need, figuring it out, and then doing it. So it's amazing. The next card, or the next thing that I pulled cards for, is what are you being asked to release? So this first card is surrender to your soul's path. And so this message is, your life's journey has been perfectly designed for your soul's growth. Embrace every lesson and every moment. I like the dark green here. And then answers. Oh, you've got this guy. And he's got like two different colored eyes. Very interesting. I've got some kind of designs here, some birds, sparkly stuff, hands over heart. So to me, this feels like there's there's ancient wisdom. That's what this feels like. That you might be coming into a time where you are getting into union. I don't use that word lightly. It's not a word that I use very commonly. Union with your ancestors, union with your spirit guides. This fellow, big ancestral spirit guide energy. Big Father God energy. Like, that's also not a thing that I say. Sometimes like the messages come through and I'm like, that's weird, but I'm gonna share it because that's what I'm supposed to do. But yeah, like a lot of like ancient wisdom. So we had this dreaming card here too. So if you start to pay more attention to your dreams, if you start to like record your dreams, if you ask for spiritual guidance before you go to bed, that's going to be an invitation for this wisdom to come through. Your spirit guide might not be a male. It might be. It might just be like a masculine energy. Like I have a couple of like spirit guides, and I have like an angel that I connect to, and he does not look like an angel. He almost looks more like a mix between like a character from Monsters Inc. and a Muppet. Like very he's like big and green, and he has like this like kind of texture of like, it's not fabric, but it's not hair. I don't know how to describe it, but that's the way he shows up to me, which sounds really weird. But I think because he's such a big energy, it was like, okay, how, and he showed up so early in my spiritual journey that it was like, I think he saw me as almost like a baby in my spiritual journey. So it's like, how do I approach this like energetic baby of a human being in a way that's not threatening, right? And so I grew up on the Muppets, on Sesame Street, you know, on animated movies. So I feel like that's why he showed up that way. His name is Clarence, by the way. So shout out to Clarence. But yeah, that's how he shows up to me, and like he doesn't talk, but he does laugh. So it's very like, and I share all this because it's like, guess it's weird and maybe I sound like a crazy person, but like what part of this is not a little weird, right? But I say that because I think sometimes when people think about like spirit guides and ancestor work, there's information that's out there and people think of ghosts and people think of hauntings and people think of spirits and curses, and there's a lot of like negative stuff that is there, that if you are open to it, it will find you, and if you are not open to it, it doesn't come to you, right? So it's kind of like when we work with like energetic hygiene, it's like locking the door to your house versus leaving the front door open, right? So it's like, if it's nighttime and you have your porch light on and you don't want bugs to come in, close the door. You know, like if you intentionally don't want certain things contacting you, don't leave the door wide open with a signal for them to come in. I'm talking about Ouija boards. Like I don't, for me, I'm not saying it's wrong if you do, but for me that I don't, no, do not. That's a door that we do not look at. Definitely don't deal with that, right? But I say all that to say that like, if this is something that you've been avoiding for a little while, like if there's some element of like spiritual, ancestral spirit guide, spiritual out there, a little bit supernatural stuff that you've been avoiding because you're really scared that not good things are going to come in. Like there's a number of practices that you can partake in to maintain your energetic hygiene, right? Like you can pray, you can use crystals, There's lots of things that you can Google for like, how to protect your energy. For me, like I did I was very slow to open my crown chakra because that's how I receive information. I know everybody's different, but like I was very intentional about meditating to open my crown chakra and asking for information from beings of the highest light. And then when I was done, I would close my crown chakra. So anytime I would read cards, I would do a meditation to open it and a meditation to close it. And eventually I got comfortable enough that like I don't have to meditate to open or close that part of myself. But, I have had experiences where, I've wanted to kind of reach out for information or work with spirit guides. And I'm very intentional about, specifying, I want to connect with angels or spirit guides or ancestors of the highest light and of the highest order, and being very intentional about like who I connect with, right? Because it's really not any different than like the way that we live our lives, right? Like you don't give your phone number to a complete stranger. You don't tell a complete stranger where you live. Like you might have people you've worked with for years that have never been to your house because you don't want them in your energy. So it's very much the same thing. So what you're being asked to release is this fear around this part of your spiritual development. So the 2 tarot cards that I have for you are 3 of Cups and 9 of Pentacles. So let me show you these. So these are very interesting interpretations. Like that's the fun thing about these cards is they don't look like the traditional tarot imagery. With this 3 of Cups, typically it's a card of celebration. And so having this lotus up here, we talked about like lotuses can represent the struggles that we've been through. And I think that, what you're being asked to release is the belief that you have to struggle to earn things. Like, you're being asked to release like the amount of value that you put on the struggle and the hustle, right? That like, if you didn't work hard, you didn't earn it. That's not true. Like 3 of Cups is a card of celebration, and so like you can release the pedestal that you put your struggle and your suffering on by celebrating the things that you've been through and recognizing like those things were really hard and that like there was a lot of work that you had to do by yourself. That like the things that you went through changed you and they were painful and you kind of had to like twist and contort yourself in order to get through them, or maybe that's what you believed, right? Maybe you believed that like in order to make it through this, I have to change who I am, and you're being called to release that. You're being called to release the importance that you put on the struggle and hustle, and also like you're being called to release changing who you are in order to like get the things that you want, right? Because the 9 of Pentacles is about like being able to celebrate and to see like how much hard work that we've done, all these things we've been through, but it's also very much a card of independence. And so understanding like celebrating and recognizing that like you did all of this, like you did all this 9 of Pentacles work, and that like the kind of work that this entails, like you don't trip and fall into this kind of success. And so like really giving yourself credit, not even celebrating, because I feel like celebrating is like, woo, we had a party, like this is like a deep reverence, like a deep like acknowledgement that like you did this thing that you didn't think that you could do, right? You did this really hard thing. You did it by yourself. And like, look at how capable you are. Look at how much you've grown. Look at how far you've come. Yeah. So you're being asked to definitely release that doubt. You're being asked to release the fear, and you're being asked to release this idea that you have to change yourself and you have to go through really hard things to earn success. Like you just are successful because of how you conduct yourself, because of who you are, because of how you be. So just continue to be who you are, making the choices that work best for you, and understanding like you don't have to change and contort yourself anymore. Okay. Put these, can I put these here? Are they going to fit? Is everybody going to fit? Kind of, a little bit, not really. Okay. So then the last part of the reading is about how can you best rest right now? Okay, so we've got this card, I am not lazy. So that hustle struggle says that like if you aren't doing anything that you're lazy. Not true. So this is the message on the back of the card. I'm not going to read it to you, but I will hold it so you can read it or screenshot it, whatever works for you. Okay. I'm going to leave that there so I can see it, kind of look at it, reflect on it. Yeah. The next card that we have is synchronicity. Ooh, I like that. Like all those little moons. This like Saturn with all the moons, just very interesting because Saturn is a card of hard work. Nine of Pentacles is about the hard work that we've done. But the moon is about feeling, right? The moon is about like our kind of internal world, our dreaming. And that like when you bring together, it's given me this energy. Nine of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles. When we bring together the Saturnian energy of working really hard and being, excuse me, and being diligent, right? The Pentacles are associated with earth energy, and they're very, like, it's very regimented. It's very, I don't want calculated, but I feel like that word gets such a like negative rap. So it's strategic. There's a plan. Like you don't trip and fall into Nine of Pentacles success, right? Like this is intentional. It's probably years in the making. When we pair that ability with the moon energy of the Queen of Cups, which is very much like loving and connected to how do I feel doing this work? How do I feel about this success I've created? How can I use my success to make things better for other people? You know, kind of blending together like that really rigid kind of masculine like work ethic with the kind of feminine, expansive, emotional awareness, you know? And I feel like as you learn to do that, as you're learning to be aware of both, that, how do I feel about how much work I'm doing? What is the impact of others what is the impact of others when I'm doing this really intentional like work? That you're going to see a lot of synchronicities line up, you know? And so the thing, you know, the best way that you can rest right now is just to kind of allow yourself some time to reflect on that balance, on those two things. Okay, so the two tarot cards I have for you are Five of Cups and Four of Cups. Very interesting, which together gives us a Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups is the card of wish fulfillment. And so I feel like that really connects to that synchronicity card. And I'm flipping this over because I feel like this Nine of Cups energy and the value that you place on the hustle struggle of things, this is really going to trigger that, and it needs to, because for you to get what you want, for your wish to come through, you need to rest. And like, let me see if I can explain this more. because I feel like that's very like abstract, right? Like take a nap and your wishes will come true or your dreams will come true. Kind of. But like right now you're so focused on, I have to work hard, I have to hustle, I have to go, I have to do this. And what's happening is it's really blocking, it's blocking your soul path, and it's blocking those answers from coming in, right? Because I would imagine that you're kind of I feel like you're kind of a heady person that, you know, like really kind of thinking about things, like really analyzing things. And that is the reason that there's so much cups in here. So we've got these. Okay. So you have one tarot card that is not a cups card. And so to me, like this very much feels like all this energy is coming in, all this cups energy, this love, this emotional, spiritual energy is coming in because you need a recalibration, you know, that you've been so much in your head, so focused on doing all the things, like on working really hard, that you're missing a lot of it. You know, that you're missing some big parts. There's like an imbalance. There's brain knowing and then there's soul knowing. And you very much have been living in the brain knowing, right? With this kind of mega mind, big brain guy. Like you've very much been living in the brain knowing, like, I know that I'm capable of this. I know if I work this long, I can earn this. I know if I push this hard, I can get this done. I know from a brain space, I know I can do this. But like from a heart space, you haven't learned like this heart knowing or this soul knowing, right? And so being able to integrate both of those together is really like a big part of your soul path, you know, because for you to learn how to integrate both of these, then you can teach other people how to integrate those things. You can pass on that wisdom that you're going to gain. And I think that for some reason, the Saturnian energy is really big. So I don't know if you're a Capricorn or if you have big Capricorn placements, maybe like your rising, your moon, your Venus, maybe your Mars is in Capricorn. Purpose is very, very important for you. Like your purpose is very important. Your purpose, fulfilling a purpose is part of your identity, right? That like, if you don't have a purpose, who are you? And so in order for you to be able to integrate this Saturnian and moon energy, this really structured in the world energy and this kind of emotional inner world energy, you need to rest. Like, because all the time that you're spending like working and hustling, it's turning off that, it's closing, you know, like when I talked about having like my crown chakra open, like it's closing that portal for spiritual knowledge to come in. You know, it's almost like, it's like if you hold the belief that you can only rest when you're sleeping, as soon as you get out of bed, then you're like done resting, you know? So like, well, can't rest again till we go to bed, and we don't go to bed till midnight. And it's like, you know, 7 a.m. now. So we just got to get to it, you know? And it's like, I think some of the things, and I say that because like some of those things are just beliefs that you're holding. Like they're not necessarily truths. It's just these beliefs that you've had in your brain that rule how you operate. And as you're resting, you're going to be able to receive download synchronicities, information about a new set of beliefs that like, no, like, we can rest on the couch, you know, or like you can rest when you're like taking a walk, or like driving can be restful, you know, and like kind of learning that like if you stop moving, that doesn't make you lazy. Like you're not a shark, right? You're not going to die if you stop swimming. I don't even know if that's true for sharks, but you get what I'm saying. And so like if you take rest, you're not lazy, right? That like you've been conditioned, you've been taught, like you've been told that like you have to keep going. You have to keep doing these things. And I think you wholeheartedly believe, like, if I just keep pushing, striving, going, my wish will come true and I will have that sense of purpose. And by all means, keep doing it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the cards are wrong. Maybe Spirit's wrong. But I think that that you have exhausted all the efforts of what you know to do and what you have done, and you haven't found that sense of purpose yet. And so you're being invited to rest so that you can recalibrate how you rebalance the mind over the heart, rebalance the heart and the mind together to integrate them, so that you can start to receive this wisdom, so that you can learn to live in a different way. You can learn a different way to love and operate so that you can share that with other people. Yeah. So, group number 2, this has been your reading. This is a big one. Yeah, this is pretty big. This is a lot. So, I hope that you will take this time to rest, to just give yourself a break, even if it's like a little bit of rest. I'm not saying you gotta just like stop doing everything. But like some rest, maybe like, I don't know, like take a 15-minute break or take a whole hour, or, if you have the luxury of taking a day and doing nothing, that might be too much for you. But, we'll start little, like 15 minutes, like just sitting down for 15 minutes, maybe like just not doing anything or doing something that has no purpose, right? Like just doing something that's pointless. That's a great way to rest, So yeah, group number 2, this has been your reading. I hope that it's been helpful. If you enjoyed it, I would love it if you would like and subscribe. If any part of this reading really resonated for you, I would love to hear about it. So please let me know in the comments. Yeah, so I hope that you enjoy this Mercury retrograde. I know it sounds like a really odd thing to say, but I feel like this kind of recovery period, this rest period for you is going to be monumental. And this, like the next year is going to be really big for you. So I'm very, very excited for you as you grow and, change and evolve into more of a magical person. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Hello, group number 3. So if you chose this happiness card, this is your reading. So I am going to read for you with the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot. So it's a pretty traditional tarot deck. It's got little, I think the colors in it are a little bit more rich than the traditional tarot. A little bit of dimension too in there. So I have a lot of cards for you for this reading. So I will try to keep them all out here so you can see them. We will definitely go through all of them. So the first part of the reading is about what new adventure is loading for you. So in the intro, I talked about the energy of Sagittarius kind of being like that energy of like pulling back the arrow and then aiming it so that like when we release it and we fire it, it goes where we want it to go. Like that we're intentional about like what we're doing with the energy that, we're taking with this arrow. So I feel like that pulling back energy is almost like the loading energy, right? That like if we're downloading something and it says like loading, like a computer program or, some kind of image or something like that. If you are an 80s baby like me, if you think about the internet loading, that's kind of what I was thinking about, that, like that we can see this progress of like where something's going, but we still have to wait for that energy to load. We can't will it to happen any faster, but Mercury retrograde is a good time for us to rest, reflect, relax, renew, all of those things. And so in this time when energetically things are slowing down because of the retrograde, it gives time for that loading to happen so that when the energy moves forward, like we get to kind of, it feels like leapfrog in a way. I guess that's what it feels like for you. That's not what it feels like for everybody. But yeah, so it's I feel like it's good energy. So the first card that I have is each time I choose to tune into spirit, guidance of the highest truth shows up for me. And then we have this number 2 card of feeling. And I like how all these kind of roots and tendrils are like coming out of her heart chakra, and she's a little baby black cat. Yeah, this feels like what's loading for you is really getting in touch with yourself, your needs, your desires, like what you want for this next year for you. And really feeling into that, right? Like, I think what's really common in our culture for like the end of year is that we're already like, we're either reflecting on like, oh my gosh, I did all this stuff in this past year and look at my highlight reel, you know? So it's like, we're either reflecting on like, oh, I didn't do as much as these other people, which doesn't feel good. Or we're thinking about like, what are the goals that I have for next year? Like, what am I going to put in my highlight reel for next year? And I feel like that's kind of this like social media BS, because like life isn't a highlight reel, right? Like our lives are these really complex, intricate ecosystems that we all create with or without intention. And I feel like what you're doing, you know, what's loading for you right now is really taking the time to connect with like your own higher power, to connect with yourself, to figure out like, what is it that I want for my life moving forward? And this could just be for like next year. This could be like the way that you want to exist in the rest of your life. It could be like just next month. And it's, you don't have to like decide what it is, right? Like you don't have to, I'm not going to ask you to turn in your 2024 goal list because 1, that's dumb. And 2, like that's not my business. And I'm not a big fan of that either. You know, I feel like life, time, everything moves so fast that it's like when we're being encouraged to like tap in to spirit and we make these like big goals, right? They're like, oh, I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 6 months or like something, you know, asinine like that, that like spirit is like, that's really cute. We have more important things to do. Like, you're going to do this. Like, nope, you don't need to be doing that. I'm going to have you do this because this is what is part of your like soul's purpose. This is what is, you know, on your heart. This is whatever, you know. And so I think in this time that you're taking to reflect on like what you really want for yourself and like what feels really good to you, like what feels right, what feels aligned, what makes you happy, that like it's not gonna be those random goals that everybody else has, right? Like you're not gonna set a goal to run a half marathon this year because like why? Like what is that gonna get? How is that gonna fulfill you? You know, like you might instead decide that like you're gonna drive cross country because you just want to see some random things that like you think are cool. And like that fills you up, right? Like that makes you feel good to be like, oh yeah, I went to like New Mexico and I saw this like UFO museum and like it was really rad. Or like I went here and I saw this bat cave and that was so cool. Or like, you know what I mean? Like the things that like society or the outside world or like especially social media like tell us that we should enjoy are usually so far from like what we actually enjoy. And so in this time, like what is loading for you is really like that figuring out like what feels good to me, you know, like what do I enjoy? And just kind of looking at the imagery, like her eyes are kind of, she looks a little bit daydreamy, right? Like we can't really tell where she's looking. She's just kind of gazing out into the distance and she's got this kind of hand up. I feel like her posture in this other hand is like reaching, right? So it's almost like I'm reaching out for things that I can draw into my heart. Like that's really what this feels like to me. And there might be a longing, right? Like you might have some kind of longing for something that like you've never let yourself actually move towards. So I feel like that's really powerful when even if we just allow ourselves to daydream about whatever that thing is for us. So the tarot cards that I have for you are, oh, it's so good. Is this 10 of Cups, which is very much a happily ever after card, and the Strength card. And so the Strength card, if you are into numerology, like 2024 is going to be an 8 year. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 is 8. And this is, the number 8 card is Strength. And this card is really about making friends with the kind of beasts inside of us, right? Like making friends with the difficult parts of us, making friends with the parts that are hard to sit with. Like some people would call this shadow work. If that sounds a little bit heavy for you, like it could be like for me, for example, like one of the beasts that I struggle with is perfectionism. And it is very much an unruly lion that I'm trying to like wrestle with, and that sometimes we can wrestle. It's almost like she's like trying to get a toy out of his mouth or get something out of his mouth, like don't eat that, like like dogs or cats, how they eat things. You're like, oh god. Sometimes we can try to force our way through something, right? Like I can try to force myself not to be a perfectionist, but like, does that work? No. And instead what we have to learn to do is make friends with these kind of beasts, right? And like, is perfectionism a beast? Yes. But it's like, why is it there? And like, how do I make friends with it? How do I sit with it? Like, what is it here to teach me? It's not here to teach me how physically strong I am. It's here because it has a message for me, and so for me, that looks like when I sit with my perfectionism, it's like, okay, what are you trying to get by being perfect? Am I trying to get attention or love? Am I trying to earn more money? Am I trying to get more likes on social media? Am I trying to feel better about myself? Like what am I using this tool for? Right? Because there's a reason. And I feel like the same is true when we kind of wrestle with these parts of ourselves, because I feel like for you, this beast is, and sorry, I'm going to interrupt myself, but these women both have cats, right? She's wrestling her cat. She's made friends with her cat. The beast that you're wrestling with is this part of yourself that says, oh no, you can't dream about that. Oh no, you can't wish for that. No, you're not supposed to want that. And so it's almost like this is very, I mean, for all of us, it's really an internal thing, but for you, like this energy is the part of you that is wrestling with the fact that you want something, when really what you're being invited to do in this loading phase is to make friends with, how do I... What if I did let myself have that thing though? Like, what if, like what would happen if I stopped fighting against my desire for this? And like, what would maybe my life look like if I daydreamed about it? Like it's a very like cautious, tepid energy, right? Because whatever the thing is that you want, you're not ready to like go out there and like grab it, because it might not be something tangible, right? It might not be like a handbag, like a fancy watch or something, right? It's not something you can just like go to the store and be like, I'm spending the money to buy this thing. No, I feel like it's something that's much more intangible. It's something that's much more emotional. And once you learn once you start to question the resistance, I think what you're going to see is that that thing that you've been wanting is going to bring you so much happiness. And it's also like it's not unreasonable, and it's not that hard for you to get it. It also won't be that hard for you to receive it. Like, you're really ready. And so the traditional 10 of Cups is like this happy family, it's a happily ever after energy. Not everybody, this isn't everybody's happily ever after. And it doesn't necessarily have to be romance. Like, this is like deep emotional fulfillment. This is like deep emotional satisfaction. Like, this is like that. It feels like, I'm not a Disney person, but I did go to Disneyland once when I had to go to California to take my car to the port to get it shipped to Germany when I was in the military. And so when I was there, like, a friend was like, let's go to Disneyland. You've never been. And so they do, I don't know if they still do it. This was like 2007, y'all. This was a hot minute. But at the end of the night, they play like, they do like a little laser light show thing, and they play music, and it's very emotional. And that's the purpose of it, like, to kind of give you this happily ever after, like this really beautiful ending to your day that you've spent there walking miles and miles and eating all the churros and riding all the rides and hearing all the screaming babies. But this 10 of Cups very much feels like that kind of emotional crescendo feeling, right? Where it's like you are so full of good feelings that you want to cry. But like good tears, like happy tears, like, oh my God, I can't believe this is really real. And I also can, because I've been dreaming about this and I've been wanting this, and this has lived in my heart for this long. And finally. So I feel like during, and like the happiness card is right here. It's right here. Just being like, hey, I'm happy, and dolphins, and we're just going to hang out. Just ignore us while you're talking about all this joy. So I'm going to put him here. He's going to stay here. But the new adventure that you're loading is really making friends, allowing yourself to have that desire for your happily ever after. And, and that, like, the truth is that, like, that is your truth, that like this is coming, and that like the happier you feel about yourself in your life, the closer you are to this. And I feel like with her being such a dark color, I feel like you haven't felt happy for a long time. I almost feel like you've been in like a long fall winter season. And it almost feels like during this Mercury retrograde, you're going to start thawing out, which makes sense. Mercury. Sagittarius is a fire sign. So, having this kind of energy, it's going to start to thaw you out. And like, I wholeheartedly encourage you to like daydream and to curl up with that, like, kind of, I don't want to call it a fantasy, but I think to you, it feels like a fantasy. So I want you to take this time to curl up with that fantasy life that you're envisioning for yourself, so that you can just get more comfortable with it being an accepted part of your mind. Because like once you start to accept it in your mind, like that helps the universe to really align for that to like come towards you. Because I think right now you're so resistant, like you're really fighting that you want it, and like you don't need to, like why fight the good things, like things have been really hard for a long time, and like you don't have to hold yourself hostage to things continuing to be hard, like it already was, like we did that, like you get a gold star for making it through the hard stuff, like you don't have, you're not gonna get two. Like you earned your difficulty merit badge. So let's move on to the happiness merit badge. That's my advice. So if you have significant cardinal sign placements in your chart, especially if you're a Capricorn rising or even Cancer, Libra, or oh no, what's the other one? It's Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Is it just those three? No, there's four. Aries. Whew, sorry about that, Aries. Forgot about you. So Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. If you have significant placements in those signs, or if one of those signs is your rising sign, this is probably why things have been really hard. So I'm a Capricorn rising, and Pluto has been in Capricorn for a very long time, like 15 years. Later, it's moving into Aquarius in 2024. It's going to go back into Capricorn for a minute and then pop back out. But that really affected... It caused a lot of endings and rebirths for the cardinal signs, because it was in Pluto. And so each of those cardinal signs creates a square with it. And so squares are hard aspects. It's like, it can be as simple, to me, a square can be as simple as like when people come to a four-way stop and you can't figure out who got there first. So it's like this kind of awkward, jerky, like, do you go, do I go? And then maybe somebody gets mad and they're like, oh, I'm going, like, get out of my way. It can be as simple as that, or it can be as intense as like a T-bone car accident, so it's like, that's how I think of the energy. So, and Ben agrees. I don't know if you can hear him. Yeah. So if you have a rising sign in any of the cardinal signs, like that, I'm there with you, and you definitely earned your... Yes, thank you, Ben. Ben's with you too. You definitely earned your merit badge for making it through, but now is the time for happiness, which is why we're leaving this little guy here. So the next group of cards I have are about what you're being asked to release. So the first card is surrender comparisons with other people. Sorry, I didn't mean to scream. The message is keep your eyes trained on yourself. Focus on your inner strengths, attractiveness, and power. Your dream, your happily ever after, doesn't have to look like everybody else's. I would also say that it really shouldn't, that like you get to decide what makes you happy. You get to decide what brings you joy, and like it doesn't need to match what anybody else's happiness or joy looks like. In case you needed permission, just putting it out there. And then the next card is trust. So we've got this kind of light coming through. I feel like she very much looks like an angel, even though she's not. Oh, Ben, can't help you right now, buddy. But she is kind of alone. It almost looks like she's on a cliff. There's some water down here. It's windy. It looks a little bit dark, right? Some foreboding clouds. You've got the darkness here. So the thing that you're also being asked to release is the lack of trust that things are going to get better. Which I'm right there with you. I get it. But this light that's up here, kind of tells me like, hey, brighter days are coming. It feels scary. It feels windy. It feels dark. But you just focus on making friends with giving space for your daydream, and connecting with that, right? Knowing that, each time you tune into spirit, like that's how you develop that trust relationship. Yeah. So the two tarot cards that I have for you are the Queen of Wands and the Seven of Swords. Okay. And we have another little black cat here. So you got your little buddy. So she's got a crown. So this is you. And this is you being afraid that any good things that come are going to be stolen away. And that's the thing you need to release, that like what is meant for you can't be taken, right? Like the dream that you have in your heart, like it can't be stolen away. It's not a tangible thing that someone can take. And I do understand that like people can definitely shit on it, which is hurtful, but what that teaches us is that those just aren't the right people for us to share it with. They can't take it from us, right? Like the dream that lives in your heart, like nobody can, it's not tangible. It's not something that somebody could go in and like literally cut out of you and remove. It doesn't work that way. But that fear comes from, I think there's a fear around letting yourself dream because you've had dreams before and they didn't work out. Excuse me. And that's affected your trust in the universe. That, how come everybody else gets to have really lovely things and I'm having such a hard time? I trusted you, when you brought this person in my life and it turned out that they just hurt me, and so I think that's created this kind of sense of like solitude, right? That like hyper independence, that like it's not safe to trust people because when we see this kind of person one too many times, that's all we see, right? So we see her and she's like facing him but looking the other way, right? That like it almost feels like there's this energy that, sorry, let me pull this closer so you can kind of see her face. It's almost like there's this energy that like this is all that's left. This is everybody, and that is not true. I think the thing that you're being asked to release is, one, the belief system that this is the only people that you'll interact with. I think the thing you're being asked to release also is this belief that you won't see this coming. Like, I feel like you don't have to interact with these people very much before you can see them a mile away, right? Which is also indicative of her posture, that it's like her head is facing here, but her eyes are somewhere else because it's like, okay, I know you're there, but I'm not super worried about it. I have other things that are more important that I need to focus on over here. But if he was to turn his head, he would see her looking that way. And it's like, oh, I got to sneak around somewhere else because she doesn't put up with this. And so like, I can't bring that whack ass energy over here. Because of what you've been through, as you learn to allow yourself to dream about this happiness, your standards are much different. Like what it will take, excuse me, what it will take for you to have this requires so much more than what people like this can offer. Like people like this cannot, like there's totally, excuse me, I'm losing my voice, totally different energy, like totally way lower vibrational. Like this is very high level. These people can't reach this. So even if this guy was attempting to steal this away, like these are these totally different regions, right? That like we've got this kind of lush, kind of forest, and like this is very kind of desolate area. So it's like kind of, to me, it visually kind of represents this divide that like these aren't even in the same timeline, same universe, same frequency. So the thing that you're being asked to release is comparing your dream, your fantasy with others, and you're being asked to release the fear that that you're going to lose this if it comes at all. So definitely working to repair that trust with the universe. And this, I feel like, is a two-sided thing, right? Where, like you can ask the universe, like, how do I build my trust in you again? Like, help me see the ways that I can trust you. Help me see the ways that I can trust you. And just kind of asking that. And it will definitely show you for sure. Okay. So then the last question that we have is, how can you best rest right now? So the card I have for you is, daydreaming is a form of rest. I can't. Look at this daydreaming. Look at this. Okay. So here's the message. I'm not going to read it to you, but I will leave it here so that you can take a look at it, that you are being encouraged to daydream. So this girl. Sorry, you might not be a female. This person, allowing yourself to be in this energy of just daydreaming and kind of seeing into the distance and letting your heart focus on, or opening your heart to what could this look like? How would it feel to be happy? How would it feel to have my happily ever after? And just letting yourself daydream and rest. The next card is gratitude. And I love these little clouds, right? Because I feel like these are almost like little daydreams too, right? Like it's almost like this kind of dream world. It's far above the earth, and it's a little bit in the dark. Dreaming, daydreaming. Yeah. And just having gratitude for the fact that you're allowing yourself to just kind of daydream about happiness, right? That you're allowing yourself to like take some rest to daydream, because I think like if this dark energy is kind of where you've been for a long time, if this kind of dark, ominous clouds, like if this is the energy that like you've been having to like be in and work through, like this is all so much like lightness, right? So much like green, blues, like really like heart nourishing things. And these are your two tarot cards. So we have the Three of Cups and the High Priestess. So the way you can best rest right now is to find things that you can do to bring joy into your life. This is a card of celebration. This is a card of like socializing. Not everybody is really into that, but I think this is a great time of year for that. So it's like if you have people that, you would like to spend time with, like this is a really easy, time to just, especially for people that you haven't talked to in a while. And I feel like you might have been isolated, and just to reach out and be like, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while. I know we haven't spent time together in a while, but like, would you like to just get together and, grab a drink, or grab a meal or grab a coffee and, kind of chat and catch up. I think this is a time of year when like a lot more kind of casual socialization, happens and people are more in the spirit for that. And if you're not in that place, you can definitely celebrate by yourself, right? Like what are some ways that like you can celebrate you for getting through all the things that you've been through? What are some ways that you can like find enjoyment, just some little things that just bring you joy. Like I really like the movie White Christmas. I usually watch it every kind of holiday season, and so I watched it for the first time yesterday, and I usually only watch it once, but it's such a, to me it's like such a sweet movie, and it's really very much like a fantasy movie for me because it's such an old movie, and it's not really connected to anything that's like current. So it's definitely like kind of a mental emotional break for me. But to me, like watching that movie was a little bit of like a holiday celebration for me. So celebration looks different for all of us, but just finding something that brings you joy, that feels good, that you can celebrate. And then going inward is tapping into your intuition. Like this is a good way for you to rest right now. That really tuning into your inner knowing, because I think because of the things that you've been through, I think because of some of the stuff that's happened over the course of this year, like this hasn't been one person or one event. This is whatever this energy was for you. It was pretty significant, and that it definitely was a breach of trust. It changed you in a way. And I think right now the hurt of it is a lot more prevalent. But I think that if you took some time to just kind of tap into your inner knowing, whatever your spiritual practice is, right? Like maybe you pull cards, maybe you journal, maybe you pray, maybe you meditate, maybe you do something. But I feel like there's a part of you that knows that this is coming. Like actually, your intuition knows this is right around the corner. And because of what you've experienced throughout this year, your mind does not believe that. Your mind doesn't trust that this could ever happen. And your mind is wrong. Sorry, mind. Sorry, group number 3's mind. But I think as you tune into your inner knowing, like your intuition, like this high priestess energy is, it's this wisdom. It's like this cosmic wisdom of like a larger truth, and that connecting with spirit, which is this is what the high priestess does, like she's just tuned in and tapped in all the time. Like that is the way she exists. And I think for you, learning just how to learning how to feel and tune in is it's going to help you while you're resting, because what's going to happen is there's that inner knowing of the truth that this is coming is going to feel much stronger for you. And the feeling part is very important, but it's also going to increase your trust in the universe, and it's going to help you see, the reason for this, right? Because there's always a lesson, there's always a reason, in that like you weren't a victim of this person that took from you, like I feel like they did victimize some part of you, and like we can acknowledge that there was wounding, there was hurting, but they didn't take everything, right? We've got the 5 swords here and then the 2, they can't carry all of them. And I feel like even though this looks malicious, like this person, this energy, it's kind of a hot mess, because we have the legs going one way, we have the face going another way. It's kind of just this awkward positioning where it's like there's no intention to it. Like you're just doing stuff to do it, and you're just creating havoc to create it. And like we're all on our own path, we're all on our own journey. And I think sometimes we have a tendency, like when we've been hurt by this, we have a tendency to believe that this was intentional, and it was not, which I know doesn't make it hurt any less. But when we kind of learn to see that, sometimes people are just very careless with how they handle us. What it teaches us is what those careless people look like, so that we can stay away from them. And it also develops the trust we have in us, because when you can see this coming and you divert it, then you have learned that you can trust yourself. You can trust the lessons that you've been through. And I feel like tapping into your intuition, your spiritual practice, like connecting with the universe, however that looks for you, whether that's having a conversation, journaling, meditating, pulling cards, whatever ways, help you to connect with spirit, that's going to, build that trust that you have in yourself. It's going to heal this nonsense. And it's going to bring you, so much closer to this happiness, that is coming for you, right? Because I feel like it's all moving in this direction. It's all kind of coming together. But yeah, like allowing yourself that time to daydream, to be grateful that you made it through this, to connect with this higher power, and just to celebrate, and to do some things to focus on like what makes you happy, like what brings you joy, how can you bring more happiness into your life. So yeah, group number 3, that has been your reading. If you enjoyed it, I would love if you would like and subscribe. If there's any part of this reading that really resonated for you, I'd love to know about it, so please feel free to leave me something in the comments. I hope that this Mercury retrograde is really restorative for you, that you're able to take some time to just daydream, and just let yourself kind of curl up with that daydream, that fantasy that you have, and that your heart starts to convince you, that your intuition starts to convince you that you wholeheartedly deserve this, and that it's coming for you, and that maybe, you can practice celebrating and finding a little bit more joy in little ways to kind of temper you to build up to this. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.